Senator, I want to get back to the economy for a moment and the possibility of another stimulus package coming from Congress. I know you are not a big fan of another big stimulus bill, but if it were to happen, what would be on the table for you? We know that extra $600 in payments for unemployment is set to expire the end of July. Would you be for extending that? Would there be more stimulus checks given directly to Americans in that package?
Well, so I think the most important thing is that we get on with the reopening of the economy.
When are you going to help us? We are your people. We put you in the position that you're in. You need to hear our voices.
In today's stimulus update, we're going to find out what state that lady is from, and also what is the White House planning for our second stimulus bill. All of that starting right now. What's going on, guys? It's your friend. This is Ace Live. I have some new updated information. This came out hot today, guys. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any information I drop, all right? We got some real good insight on what's going on with the White House. What are their ideas for our second stimulus package? And we're gonna go over that today just to give you an insight. This news comes from Senator Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania. What's special about him is because he actually sits on the Reopen America Task Force, Trump's Reopen American Task Force in the White House. So he gets insight, a little bit more insight on what's going on, what Trump wants, the White House wants for the new stimulus bill. It's been a lot of misconfusion because we really haven't gotten too much language on direct payment. And so he had an interview today with Yahoo Finance, which is one of the reasons why you needed to subscribe, guys, because I'm going to give you up-to-date information. So make sure you hit that subscription button and then the bell button so you don't miss on any new information that comes out, because I'm going to drop it as soon as I get it, and that way you are well informed. All right, guys? So without further ado, we'll just listen to this interview and I'll be right back.
Senator, I want to get back to the economy for a moment and the possibility of another stimulus package coming from Congress. I know you are not a big fan of another big stimulus bill, but if it were to happen, what would be on the table for you? We know that extra $600 in payments for unemployment is set to expire the end of July. Would you be for extending that? Would there be more stimulus checks given directly to Americans in that package?
Well, so I think the most important thing is that we get on with the reopening of the economy. I know you're sitting in Pennsylvania, and unfortunately, a very substantial portion of our state is still not fully reopened, despite the fact that we are routinely now having record low numbers of positive coronavirus tests, certainly since March. The death rate has fallen dramatically. There's not a hospital in the state that's anywhere as close to full capacity. So we really need to be reopening and allowing people to earn their livelihood and businesses to survive. And that comes from reopening. So I would be very, very reluctant to support any kind of legislation that's going to have the effect, even if unintended, of delaying the reopening that is really essential. There's another important point I want to make here. If you look at what we've already done, we have directly appropriated about $3 trillion. We've authorized the Fed, through the various lending programs we just discussed, to lend several trillion more, could easily be 3, 4 or more, but let's call it 3. Between what we've appropriated and the Fed lending, that's $6 trillion. That is 30% of the entire annual economic output of the United States of America. And most of it isn't out the door yet. So it's not obvious to me that we need to load the money cannon and fire that off again. Let's remember, there's no free lunch. All of this is either borrowed money or created money, and either way, Americans are going to pay a price for this. So I think we want to go very, very cautiously before we just decide to, launch a lot more money out. The views are divided in the Senate. There's no question. Our Democratic colleagues, I think it's fair to say, overwhelmingly support spending a whole lot of additional money on top of all that we've spent and all that's been committed but not yet out the door. Among Republicans, I think there's a widely held view that we ought to take a pause here, see what the effect is of what we've already done, try to understand what unintended consequences it might have before we do still more. But views are really all across the board, and we'll just have to see what kind of consensus emerges.
In the past, guys, we've gotten a lot of dodgy commentary coming from the White House, from the Senate, And this one seems to be the most clear, basically saying that they're not looking into giving people direct payments. Will we get a direct payment? That's yet to be determined because it is election year, and I'm gonna tell you straight up, people do strange things for some change. That truth still remains. People do strange things for some change. He actually justified the reason why they're not trying to push a bill right now. They're trying to see exactly what is going on with the economy. They want to see if there is some abuse or where is lacking. I think that is the smartest thing to do. However, people are still hungry. He also goes in to talk about unemployment. So let's see what he says.
Senator, back to the job market for a moment. We know that unemployment claims are moving in the right direction, but still the number of Americans continuing to draw those unemployment claims has topped 20 million. What do you see as the role of the government in that, in helping to support those Americans? What could and should the government be doing going forward?
Well, as you pointed out, we've done a tremendous amount already. We have, look at what we've done for small businesses. We have offered to have the taxpayer pay the payroll for at least an 8-week period for small businesses. We've provided these lending facilities to provide liquidity for bigger businesses. We've dramatically increased the unemployment payments that people get, and we've dramatically expanded eligibility for unemployment to include people who historically were never eligible for unemployment. And then, in addition to all that, we sent checks of $1,200 to everybody whose income is below $75,000 or a married couple below $150,000. So that's a tremendous amount that we've put out there. The idea was to replace lost income. In some cases, it's well beyond lost income, right? A senior citizen who was a retiree didn't have a reduction in their Social Security check because of the pandemic, and yet that person still got the $1,200. So there's a tremendous amount of demand-side stimulus that we have put out the door. As I said earlier, I think the thing we should do now is let's encourage the reopening. Let's encourage people to be able to get back to work. Let's allow businesses to open their doors. I think there's a lot of pent-up demand for a lot of products and services. We're seeing some very encouraging data, as you alluded to, retail sales, housing starts. There's some very good news out there. I think if we allow this economy to reopen, we're going to find employment come back quite strongly, and then evaluate where we are and see what remains to be done.
It's easy to say that things are going to get better, but there are a lot of people who are hungry. Speaking about unemployment, in this next clip, we're going to look at Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's state and find out how people are coping with this whole unemployment issue.
The Labor Department is expected to report that another 1.3 million Americans filed jobless claims last week, and that would push the total to over 45 million during the coronavirus pandemic.
Meanwhile, hundreds of folks lined up on the Kentucky State Capitol grounds Wednesday, all of them hoping to get unemployment help, many of them frustrated after going months without any benefits or updates on their unemployment claims.
Unfair to handle the amount of responses that they had. When are you going to help us? We are your people. We put you in the position that you're in. You need to hear our voices.
People in line say they wanted to simply talk to an actual person rather than waiting by the computer for a response that never comes.
There's a time lapse, by the way, of that unemployment line that is jarring. And just to think all those people lined up, they're not getting a check. They just want to meet a human being, right, fill out a form and hand it in so they can get their unemployment money. It's frustrating, I can imagine.
Links of Senators Mitch McConnell's information is in the description, guys, if you want to talk to them. Just saying. All this brings it back to full circle, guys. People do strange things for some change. If the consensus is heard loud and clear, change will happen. But unfortunately, in this climate, one person can't make the change. It needs to be a collective effort. And so right now, like we discussed yesterday, the Senate is not talking about a bill. And like I said earlier, they're going to wait to see what happens. I think if they wait to see what happens, they're going to rush. They should talk about it now. Discuss things now. Get it right now. Look at the numbers now, see if there is abuse, and figure out a way how they can fix everything. We're looking at both sides of the spectrum. The Federal Reserve is saying, yes, the American people need another direct payment. And then you got the senators, and officials from the White House saying, we're gonna help, but maybe not the direct payment route. I want to hear from you guys. Comment down below your thoughts on what should be the next course. Should we get another direct payment? If so, how much? And should it be a recurring? Because that sounds dandy, but that also ties into unemployment. Maybe unemployment could be another thing. And then if we're gonna do unemployment, should there be some more incentive for people to get back to work? So look, we're gonna give you some money, but you gotta show proof that you are actually applying for work. Or you're gonna have to check in every other day here until you find a job. Make it an incentive for people to really get back to work. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Like I've been saying, I will be giving you up-to-date information on what's going on with the stimulus package, and I'm gonna be here tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna be here tomorrow. You gonna be here tomorrow? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Share this video with somebody, all right? Thanks. I'll see you in the next one. How many times are we gonna say next one? We out of here.